Hello, everyone, and welcome to the best and worst of Walt Disney World, brought to you by DreamsUnlimitedTravel.com as well as DizBoards.com. I am your host, Rhino Clavin, and in this week's episode, we're going to be doing a new sort of series where we're going to get everyone's top 5 favorite attractions, or what they think are the best attractions at Walt Disney World. And to have this discussion with me, we've got Mr. Corey Fiascanaro.
You did it. You said it. Hey, guys.
Yay. Steve Porter.
Hello.
And we've got Craig Williams, the man who makes it happen here.
Ahoy, hoy.
Yeah, so we thought it would be, we were brainstorming, and then Craig came up with the idea. We do something similar on our dining show, if you haven't seen that, where everyone gives their like top picks or worst picks or whatever. We're going to kind of carry that through into here, and we thought it would be fun. So Steve is going to be the first person to give us his top 5 best attractions, and none of us know what they are.
Yeah, I wanted to be the guinea pig, so we'll see how much you guys disagree with this list. But number 5, this attraction, if I was not a local or annual pass holder, this would probably be my number 1 or number 2. But I don't want to get wet on an average day, so Splash Mountain is my number 5. I think the animatronics, the music, it's a super long ride. So even if it's a longer wait time, it's like, all right, the payoff is still there because it's, you're going to be on the ride for a long time. It's not like Peter Pan's Flight where you get on and then like a minute later you're off the ride. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just really like Splash Mountain. I think it's kind of what I think of when I think of a Disney ride.
Well, you know what's great about Splash Mountain is, so when I was younger, I was very afraid of attractions, afraid of heights, afraid of, not like all attractions, just like anything that was kind of roller coasty. And from the outside, Splash Mountain looks to me like a flume ride, a log ride. You go in the log, you go up, you go down. And I had been I'm from Massachusetts, and I'd been to Canopy Lake Park and tricked into a log ride there. And then at the Six Flags by my mother. And I was like, never again. And so I didn't do Splash Mountain. Corey, are you familiar with this flume ride that I...
Dude, the same exact thing happened to me.
Yeah.
The same exact thing happened to me at Canopy Lake Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, the exact same thing. The the little boat ride where it's like the little Indian boat ride, and it's like very relaxing and calm? Mm-hmm. My mom told me we were getting on that. And then we went on the log flume. And I was terrified of log flumes ever since.
Yeah, and it was the same for me. It carried through into my 20s when I moved here. And then I finally one day had some friends visiting. I'm like, you know what? I've got to do this. And I had no idea that story was in there or that it went for as long as it did. And it is kind of amazing because I feel like very much a dark ride. Mm-hmm. You're slow moving in a boat for most of it, and you're seeing all these cool scenes with some animatronics, and I don't know. I like it.
I like it. I think it's, obviously we don't know really, the movie that it's based off of has kind of a dark history, but I like getting to know some of the characters from the animated part that, mm-hmm. in a more updated version of the story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like Splash Mountain.
All right, well, what's number 4 on your list?
All right, number 4, I think technology-wise, and this is probably a lot of people's number 1, but Flight of Passage is my number 4. I think it's a great ride. I think it's like changing the game as far as rides are in kind of the competitiveness between Disney and Universal that, now this is another new type of thing that people are going crazy about. So Universal is now creating Hagrid's and making people excited about that, and now hopefully Disney with Star Wars will make people excited about that. So I think it just kind of pushed the game of attractions of what they can do and how much excitement people get out of it.
Flight of Passage for me, I know when it first came out, Pete was like, best thing Disney's ever done. I do not agree with that at all. I think but I'm also not saying it's bad or anything. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff in it, but it's not, for me, it's not necessarily overly innovative. It's essentially a screen simulator, but it is, you ride on well, I guess you're not riding on it, but the vehicle or whatever you're sitting on is cool, and I like the simulated, breaths of the Banshee and stuff. So I get why people really like it.
Well, I like how it's a combination. Yes, it does use a heavy use of screen, but it does use like smell and the wind, and like
it does that well.
So much of the senses are like you got your smell, you got the wind, you got your sight. Is like everything's kind of, and even like the touch of the Banshees like breathing. So it's like there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I like how immersive that makes it feel. But yes, I do agree that like I think now that I've given it some time, I think the first couple times I went on it, I was like kind of with the same as Pete, like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. And I think I've cooled on that a little bit. I still think it's one of the best. That's why it's my number 4. But that's why it's not. It's 1 through 3.
It's a tough one because when you are riding, I think in the very middle of the theater, in terms of up and down, as well as then in terms of where your actual physical Banshee seat is. If you are completely middle, then it is definitely a best experience. But considering there are more seats that are off to the sides than there are just perfect middle seats, it's kind of has that same issue as with Soarin', is that you really get taken out of it. So like the first time I rode it, I was middle, and that's why I was blown away. I thought it was perfect. I thought it was great. Now I've ridden more times on the far left and far right sides, and it lost it because of that.
I've only ever done the far left side actually too, so maybe that's why I feel the way I do, is because when you're on the far side, you can see out of your peripheral the entire room. So I can see everybody else riding the Banshee. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm in a room. But
I think I've been lucky and never got one of those edge seats. But like, regardless how you look at it, Flight of Passage is a must-do. It's a must-do attraction right now. And I think I agree with some of the things you guys have been saying. The first time I rode Flight of Passage, I was like, this is the best thing ever. This is the best thing ever. And now that I've ridden it, like, I don't even know how many times, like a lot of times. It's like, it would be on my top 5, but somewhere around like the 3 or 4 spot, like you put it.
Well, we'll see when we get to you, won't we?
Yeah.
Steve, number 3.
Number 3, Space Mountain. I think this might be a little bit. I understand if there's pushback from this because our Space Mountain is not as good as Disneyland's, and that I will agree with. But I still love Space Mountain. I think part of it too for me is like I love Tomorrowland because I work there. I know I said that all the time, but I just love Space Mountain. I think it's a thrilling ride. I think it was one of the first rides that like another emotional nostalgic tie is I think it was one of the first ones that my brothers convinced me to go on when I was little. That was like one of my first like real big thrill rides. Like, oh my gosh, I'm doing a real roller coaster at Disney. And so I guess it's a mix of emotional and nostalgic, and I just like the ride.
Yeah.
See, I do agree with you that it's one of my favorite roller coasters, especially at Walt Disney World. I hate that we have to compare it though to Disneyland Space Mountain, saying that, because they are housed in the same building and the same, it's the same name. But that would be like saying, okay, well, Expedition Everest needs to be compared to the Matterhorn because they're both in a mountain,
snowy
and
mountain,
have a mythical creature essentially in them. They're two complete different rides. The same way Space Mountain in Disneyland is completely different than our Space Mountain. Mm-hmm. It's fair to compare Matterhorn and our Space Mountain together in terms of the actual ride experience. But I think Space Mountain, I liked it before they enclosed it all and tried to make it darker. I liked classic days where you can stand in the queue and look up and see all the rockets shooting past you, and the big giant cookie that was an asteroid, but everyone thought it was a chocolate chip cookie. Star Tunnel music. There's so much to love about Space Mountain.
See, for me, Space Mountain here in World was my favorite attraction when I was younger, like 12, 14, 16. And then I went a number of years without doing it. Went to Disneyland, California, which is my home state, for a while, and rode their Space Mountain. And I was like, this feels a little different, but yeah, this is still one of my favorite attractions. Fast forward, post-military, come back to World, to this Space Mountain, and I'm like, oh no. oh no, I can't do this. It's too
Yeah, it's definitely
jittery.
rickety.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always that fear that I actually will die on that attraction and like, be thrown from the cart, which I don't
love-
believe has happened. But
I love when you're in the back and it like feels like the rock. It's like it's not actually, but it feels like it's like popping off the track when you go up.
I hate that feeling. That's the thing where I go, oh, I'm a big boy, and it's gonna pull out from under me. But what do you have for number? That's number 3. What's number 2?
Number 2 is Tower of Terror. I think Tower of Terror is another good example of Disney mixing great theming and story and everything that all kind of comes together. And yes, it's a shorter attraction because it's a thrill attraction. But I just think, even the story really starts when you're just walking down Sunset Boulevard and seeing, this massive decrepit kind of giant hotel with, the front of it falling off or fell off or I can't speak.
Was I now? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that I love I normally don't like pre-shows because it's just an extension of a queue. But I do really like the pre-show here, where you go in the room and there's the Twilight Tower of Terror or Twilight Zone, excuse me, pre-show. I like everything about that. I love the boiler room. I remember being more scared of the boiler room as a kid than I was of the actual ride because I just thought it was so creepy. I love the dummy at the end when you when the ride is over and there's just like a creepy dummy off to the side, a ventriloquist doll. Although I will make one recommendation to Disney. I wish they would make the ventriloquist doll's head as you're like leaving turn towards you. I think that would be awesome. But all that aside, I love this ride.
I actually have never, as many times as I've been to Disney World, never ridden the Tower of Terror.
What?
But my wife, Haley, has, and she'd probably put it on her list too if she was making a list. I don't know.
You're too scared?
I guess that's what it is. I guess I'm just too scared. I have a little bit of an excuse because certain motions do like mess with my head, and my day literally could be over. But I don't know. I can't bring myself to get on it.
I mean, I don't know if it's. Well, no, I know it's not one of my favorites, but that's a personal thing. And if somebody says this is my favorite, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, no, you're wrong. Like, well, if the theming, there's no question. The theming is phenomenal.
Yeah. The theming, it's if you don't like thrills, you're not gonna like. If you don't like intense thrills, you're not gonna like this ride. Like you are like thrown up in the air, up and down and up and down. So I mean,
so that's your number 2, right?
Yeah, number 2.
So what's number 1?
All right, some people will love this, some people will hate this, but I love the People Mover, and I always will. And I can understand
Steve's number 1
why
favorite attraction.
You're groaning. I understand.
I'm not groaning.
I will say this attraction is seemingly getting more and more popular, and you used to be able to walk right on this ride, basically, and that's not really the case anymore. But I love it. I love to just go around Tomorrowland. You get the breeze. It's one of the few places where you can just like sit down and relax and just enjoy your day at the Magic Kingdom. It's 10 minutes, so you can like sit down for a while, and you get to see the little Epcot model, like when it was supposed to be the Progress City or like the experimental prototype Community of Tomorrow. I don't know. I just love it.
See, People Mover, I love that. And I wouldn't put it as my number 1, but then again, once we do get some of my lists, I don't think anybody's going to agree with some of my top picks. Like no one. But I still love that ride.
Well, and this is one where, I mean, full disclosure, before we started doing this, we were all sitting around and we were trying to brainstorm a top 5 just overall between all of us. And I wasn't even going to throw out the People Mover, even though it's my personal favorite, because I knew like that's not realistically going to be everyone's favorite, nor was it going to make any list of, a group favorite. But because this is my personal favorite, People Mover.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This isn't don't plan your vacation around Steve's top 5 best attractions, but you could I feel like that's the thing for people who come to Disney World a lot. You sometimes, or any Disney parks, you want that after repeated visits, you want to come in with a different perspective on some stuff, and this could help you offer that different perspective.
Yeah.
So thank you, Steve. Thank you for that list. I'm just going to run through it again one more time. You had Splash Mountain at number 5, Flight of Passage at number 4, Space Mountain at number 3, Tower of Terror at number 2, and his favorite attraction the best attraction for Steve Porter is the People Mover. Look forward to his tattoo somewhere on his body of the People Mover car
Maybe.
someday. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for having this discussion. Thank you all for listening and watching out there. If you want to let us know what your favorite attractions are, you go right ahead in that comment section below if you're watching this on YouTube, and let us know if there's other topics that you'd like us to touch on there as well. So that'll do it for this episode of The Best and Worst of Walt Disney World, but we'll see you next time with another episode. Bye, everyone.